Well, hello, hello, hello. My name is Angela Odom, and I am so excited today for another live recording of the Better You Leadership podcast. So, I'm just wondering if you want to influence the way people treat you. Do you really want to be able to start just becoming more aware of your boundaries? That's what we're talking about today. Because having poor personal boundaries often leads to unhealthy relationships. And you're wondering, oh, with your surprise face, like, what happened? Right? You're like, I don't know what happened. Why am I being treated this way? Why are people responding to me this way? Why are they engaging with me this way? It's mostly because of boundaries or a lack thereof, or um, you're just simply not enforcing boundaries, right? You're allowing people to treat you how they want to treat you. And sometimes people are yucky, right? Mean spirited and all those things. So you want to be able to establish boundaries, enforce them. And that's what we're going to talk about today. That's what we're talking about today. So I'm pretty excited to be here and to share with you this topic. And my first question really is, um, what is your base? That's what we're talking about today. What's your base, as in your boundaries, accountability, standards, and expectations? If you have boundaries and you establish accountability, some kind of way, some manner in which consequences happen. And then how do you judge or determine the standard to which you operate and people see you? And then how do you, really look at expectations? You manage expectations. That's what we're doing today on the Better You Leadership podcast, this live recording. And so I want to get into it. Before we do that, sometimes people are like, well, how do I contact you? What do I do? So you on these other different platforms, whether it is this Facebook, which I love, um, Instagram, YouTube, and of course, my name's Angela Odom, so angelaodom.com. You could always start there. Okay. And so let's figure out who in the world is here. Oh my God, Carrie, how you doing? I say I miss you, and you're coming in from cold northern Minnesota. Woohoo! Yeah, I guess it would be. And then Mo, you're coming in from. Oh my God, it's cold there too in Kentucky. Okay, well, guess what? I'm here in Georgia, and it's probably about 70-ish. Then it's going to drop and all that kind of stuff. We're going to experience everything in one day here in Georgia. So, welcome and thank you for joining. Let's get started with our topic today. And we'll talk about boundaries. So, six boundaries that women leaders leverage. Six boundaries, six types. And so we know really want to have boundaries, make space in between us and other people, right? But one would be material boundaries. Material boundaries. This determines whether you like, if you're like a college student, if you got a roommate, right? So do you want to lend things to your roommate? Material things like your car, your money, your clothes, your books, your food, your toothbrush. Yuck. So material boundaries. That's one things, right? And then you look at physical boundaries, and this pertains to your personal space, your privacy, your body. Do you give a handshake or a hug? And well, in these terms, these times of COVID, do you do like the elbow kind of thing, or the fist bump? What do you do? Or you just wave like, "Hey, I see you, but don't touch me." So how do you feel about loud music, nudity, and locked boxes or locked doors? So physical boundaries. So in between my house and my neighbor's house, we have a fence. We have a fence on the side where one neighbor is, and the other side I have a creek. So there's boundaries. In the back, I have another fence. So physical boundaries. So just think about that. So one, material boundaries, two, physical boundaries, and then mental boundaries. Mental mental boundaries apply to your thoughts, your values, and your opinions. And so you want to ask yourself, are you easily suggestible? Somebody suggests something to you like, oh, yeah, I'll do that. I didn't think of it that way, but okay, I'll come around to your way of thinking. Mental boundaries, right? Do this is like a crazy question, but do you know what you believe? And can you hold on to your own opinions? This might be, come into play with your parents, with your closest friends, with your colleagues. So especially like I grew up in a um, church going family, like always at church as a child. And so what the group believed is what we were supposed to believe as individuals. And then I started saying, well, wait a minute, that don't even make sense. So the bottom line here is, can you listen with an open mind to someone else's opinion without becoming rigid, right? And lots of times, grown-ups with children become rigid when the child develops their own sense of direction, right? Their own thoughts. So mental boundaries, that's a big deal. So if you become highly emotional, argumentative, defensive, you may have weak emotional boundaries. So I'm not saying you're a weak person. I'm just saying, think about it. Do you even know what you want, like what you like, what you hold dear, or is it what the other person whom you respect and want to be like, want to be liked by them? Is it that you hold their beliefs more, in a much more higher esteem than yourself? I don't know. So anyway, so material boundaries, physical boundaries, mental boundaries, and then emotional boundaries. Emotional. This is when we're distinguishing. Um, I guess you separate your emotions and responsibility for them from someone else, right? So it's like having an imaginary line or force that separates you from other people. So that's a good thing, right? So if you can see that, like even if you're at work and you are, if you have big personality and you have a team of people, then sometimes those people are influenced by your emotion. You get all pumped up and loud and all excited, and you're like, whoa, they're pumped up and loud. So emotional boundaries. You are separate from other people. So these emotional boundaries really, especially if someone is negative and nasty, right? You want to match their energy. So these emotional boundaries, they protect you from feeling guilty for somebody else's negative feelings of problems, right? Somebody else is feeling bad, somebody else is having some problems, and then you're like, well, wait a minute, you're treating me this way because you're upset, right? Or I'm treating you a certain way because I'm upset or because I'm happy, whatever it is, right? So you want to just avoid taking other people's comments so personally, because I mean, like if I'm highly suggestive, like I'm in a weak emotional state, and I don't have, very rigid emotional boundaries, then you're going to impact the way I feel, what I do, what I don't do, because I am really not healthy, right? So, what you want to do is you want to have healthy emotional boundaries, and that is intentional, right? Those about internal boundaries, knowing your own feelings and your responsibility to yourself and to others. So really, so when you talk about emotion, so we're talking about sadness, happiness, we're talking about anger, emotions, right? And so emotional intelligence goes with that. And then number 5 would be sexual boundaries. Sexual boundaries. So these boundaries protect you from I guess what's comfortable for you when it pertains to sexual touch and activity, like where, when, how often, by whom do I want to be touched? So sexual boundaries, right? Sexual boundaries. That's a big deal. That's a big deal. You put your hand up on my thigh, and I'm like, oh, nah, I don't really like that. I don't feel comfortable with that. The next person put their hand on my thigh. I'm like, thank you. I was been waiting for you to put your hand on my thigh. Sexual boundaries, right? Just protect yourself and know. And it's okay for you to know what you want, what you like, right? And then spiritual boundaries. As I mentioned earlier, I grew up going to church all the time. I actually grew up in a house that was located directly across the street from a church. And I could see, and we didn't attend that church, but I could see their comings and goings. And I tell you, I had some really big problems with their actions. So, spiritual boundaries relate to your beliefs and experiences connected to your God or your higher power, your spiritual beliefs, right? And sometimes people pray as in negatively affect other people based on spirituality, right? So you want to make sure you have boundaries. Basically, know what you believe, know what's important to you, right? And so, real quick, I want to just check in with you. I see you, Dorothy. Says so true, so on point. And so those six, right? Those six different types of boundaries that women leaders leverage. I want to go through them real quick one more time for you, and I want to know if there's any others that you that come to mind for you, because this is not like the end all be all. This is Angela Odom's perspective, right? And so material boundaries, physical boundaries, mental boundaries, emotional boundaries, sexual boundaries, and spiritual boundaries, right? And so I want to just pause and just from any of you all, if you're watching this live with me and you're listening live with me, then make sure that you put in your comments. If there's any others, then put those in there. And then we'll move on. But if you're watching this on the replay or you're listening to the replay, then same thing, comments. I want to know whether there's others that we should consider. So there's 4 principles of establishing boundaries. 4 principles. One, you're scheduling events or activities on a calendar. And, I like the paper kind of calendar, but you can have it on your device. This allows us, me and you, to take a breath because we can say yes a lot because we will have how we're going to spend our time on a calendar, right? And so that means with the 24 hours in a day, we know we got to sleep, we got to eat, right? We got to hug some folks, and the majority of us have to go somewhere or do something for a certain amount of time to bring money into the house, right? And so you want to put those things on a calendar. Now, how much time do I have to do other things? And so when someone is asking you to do something, you would know, oh, wait a minute, I can only do it during this time right here. That allows us to breathe. So 4 principles of establishing boundaries is one, to schedule your events and your activities, right? Number 2 is adopt the mindset of, and now this might sound like crude or rude or whatever. You just deal with it, right? Your emergency is not necessarily mine. So that's one. And then the other thing is another mindset you might want to adopt that I have. I'm just no longer setting myself on fire to keep other people warm. Think about that. It's like the whole thing of being so accommodating, right? So accommodating for others. And that's not a good way to be, right? And number 3 is you want to respond with a full body yes or complete no. And no is a complete sentence. And responding with a full body yes, meaning for me, from the top of my head all the way down to the soles of my feet. Yes, I'm committing to this request, this act with all of me. Yeah, like I have no hesitation. I'm not going to be resentful, whining, complaining. I'm not going to throw it back in your face later. Yes, 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 or either no. And your no could sound so many different ways, right? Not right now. Oh, I'm overcommitted. No, I'm not available. Oh, I'm doing this for my son. Can't do that. Whatever. You have different ways to respond, but so that's number three. And then you want to allow yourself an exit strategy. That's the other part of boundaries. So, and what that might look like is as you're talking to someone, you say, "Oh, you know what? Before I commit, let me check with my admin." You know, right? Or you're saying, "Hey, I'm not sure if I'm available, but let's just figure it out." Or if I am available, then I can do A, B, and C. So you want to allow yourself an exit strategy. So those four things, four principles of establishing boundaries. Again, these is Angela Odom's principles, right? So I'm gonna pause and see if there's any other principles you think. Okay, I see you, Mo. You says, okay, let's go here, and you say time and intellectual boundaries. Oh, definitely. Those are really two good ones also. Yeah, I like those. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And as far as the principles of establishing boundaries or enforcing boundaries, right? Just consider what would you say? First thing is just put yourself on your schedule, right? And then what do we mean? I started out like what's your base? Boundaries, right? Accountability, standards, and expectations. So let's move to accountability and what's meant by accountability. Because if you establish boundaries then without accountability, then oops. So accountability is when an individual or department experiences consequences for their performance or their actions, right? Performance or actions. And this is like essential for any organization and for our society to have some sort of consequences in place, some kind of accountability methods. And then everybody needs to know it. It shouldn't be like a secret, right? So without accountability, it's really difficult to get people to assume ownership, to actually respect what you put in place on their own, right? If they don't believe they have any consequences, then most likely people will do whatever they want to do. And if that means stepping on you, pushing you to the side or attempting to control you, then they're going to do it. They're going to do it. So you want to have some accountability. So again, the question is, what's your base? What's your base? And so we talk about boundaries, accountability. We want to look at the different types of accountability in an organization. Ethical accountability, administrative accountability, market accountability, constituency relations, and then public and private overlap. Those are different types. And we're talking in a business concept, right? Context rather. And then 5 ways you and I can leverage accountability. So we can always tell a friend. I got friends right now. If I say, you know what, girl, my stomach too big, they're gonna start eating blah blah blah. I got friends that'll start sending me asparagus recipes, all kind of stuff, right? Like let's get up and go and walk, all these things. So you can join an accountability group. You can use technology. I mean, my God, you can Google it and come up with all types of ways to do something, right? You can hire a coach, which I am, and then you can write it down, right? So those 5 ways we can leverage accountability. And so we talk about boundaries, accountability, standards, and expectations. So personal standards. This is really about, I don't know, I guess one way to say it is that your personal standards are reflected in the quality of our relationships. Personal standards are reflected in our work and the way we communicate. So it's like a standard, like in a way we're going to agree to do something. A standard. It could be about we can make a product, or manage a process, or deliver a service, or supply materials, or just a range of standards. How are we going to show up? What's the standard? What's the way we agree to treat one another? What's the standard? When I say, hey, you're in my personal space. Well, the standard is step back 6 feet, unless we're supposed to be that close, right? So the standard, and then so we talk about what is your base, and so we look at expectations as the E. E is expectation. So you want to manage your team's expectations in the work context, and then of course in your personal and social context, same thing. You want You want to be able to, I guess, just define um, the way people believe something is going to happen or believe that something should happen a certain way, expectations, right? And so the question on the table is, how do women leaders leverage the 6 types of boundaries? And the answer is by knowing their base. That's how you do it, right? By knowing your base. And so I want to first, I want to invite you to 2 different events that I'm participating in on Thursday. I'm participating in 2 different events. One with AARP. They're doing a entrepreneur veterans, and that's military veterans entrepreneur panel, and that's on Thursday at 10. And I will share with you all the details. I'll drop that in there. And then at 7 p.m., like on Thursday, I'm busy, right? So 7 p.m. on Thursday, I am participating in actually I'm facilitating um, a what's called the 6 boundaries women leaders leverage. The same topic, but it's going to be a little tighter for the female mentorship program that's based at Fort Jackson, South Carolina. And they're doing it on Teams, one of those platforms, and the link is like this long. So I'll find that, and I'll post this also for you to participate in it. And so at the end of that particular learner centered interactive 40-minute workshop, the participants will be able to evaluate the effectiveness of their current boundaries, identify various boundary types, which we already did, right? And then identify methods to create and enhance boundaries. They'll be able to do that. They're also going to be able to describe ways boundaries can be beneficial, which is talking about the knowledge and the attitude, right? Then identify and evaluate their own boundaries, understand, define, and evaluate different types of boundaries, and then identify ways of respecting others' boundaries. Woo! That's a big one right there, right? So I always talk about how somebody might be doing something else, but what are you doing? And then identify and evaluate different ways your boundaries have been set, and explain how you can begin to set or strengthen your boundaries. And then we're gonna do some practice, some on the spot like practicing. We're gonna practice tools to maintain and strengthen your boundaries. So that will build that skill. And so that's 10 a.m. and then 7 p.m. One with AARP and one with a female mentoring organization at Fort Jackson, South Carolina. And so I want to go ahead and most of this. So what you know is this is the Better You Leadership Podcast, right? This is a live recording, and most of the time I'm the one talking. So over the last 50 episodes, I only have one interview, and that was with Reverend Daryl Mason, and he talked about relationships, like 151, how many relationships you can effectively maintain at one time, right? And I don't really get feedback. So I want to get feedback today, and I'm asking for one of our longtime listeners to the join the stream, join the this session with us, and I'm going to bring her on. So Monique, how you doing?
I'm doing fine. How are you?
Uh, I'm doing really good. And so well, first of all, so thank you so much for agreeing to join this session itself, and then to provide feedback, because I asked you ahead of time if you would provide feedback on the topic. You didn't really know what the topic is going to be, so this is so cool that you're listening. But first, would you please just tell our audience, which is women leaders? That's what. So I engage with women leaders, and I teach them how to lead themselves and others. And so, if you would please just share some things about you, like who are you?
Well, I am Monique Jackson. I am an Army vet. I am here in Vine Grove, Kentucky. I am a founder of a business called Real Talk Time LLC, and it is about mental health and talking about our personal struggles. I provide platforms that allow just regular people who have been going through things, experienced things, whether it's deployment, PTSD, childhood experiences, and provide them a platform where they feel safe enough to communicate, share their experiences, and we all get together talking about different coping mechanisms and how to heal. So my thing is heal, feel, and deal.
Oh,
Um,
whoa, hold up. Wait a minute. Heal, feel, and deal. All right, I like that. And it's
yeah,
smooth.
yes. So, and it's just about like just having real conversations, real talk, without having a professional therapist or support groups. Just a different way in your personal home or attending an event where you get to share your personal experiences. Not, it's no judgment. You just
No,
talking.
you're just feeling, dealing, and healing. I think I got it right. So
Yes.
you, so for our topic today, of the six boundaries women leaders use leverage to leverage. What's your take on it? What did you get from it? Just provide us with some feedback. We got live feedback right now.
Well, I will say I did take some notes. Some of the
Okay.
things that stood out to me is definitely physical boundaries, even in leadership or just in your personal life. Physical boundaries, you really have to let people know what your boundaries are. Some people are so ready, especially during COVID, to hug and to love up on you, and it's so nerve wracking because you just don't know. Um, if people have taken the COVID shot, the booster shot, so you kind of have to say, "Oh, hold on, I'm not hugging, I'm fist bumping," like you said in your presentation, um, and just allowing, and being honest about how you feel about your personal space and touching and feeling and all that kind of stuff. Also, personal space is about making sure that you get rest, that you're eating properly, drinking water, which I cannot stand water, but I have upped my intake water just so that I could be a better person, especially, thriving throughout the day and what my plan is going to be. Another thing that stood out to me is mental boundaries.
Hmm.
Of course, me and my business, that is one that hit home for me, especially disturbing my peace. I vibe off a lot about being positive and positive energy, positive thinking. And so sometimes you have to protect your peace and do not allow others to disturb your peace. With their negativity or their thoughts, try to wake up every morning in a positive light. And so, as a leader as well, when you're out in the forefront, people are watching consistently and constantly watching you. So you want to start off presenting yourself in the best light. And so with that, you do have to protect your peace. Um, Another one is what I had mentioned about the time boundaries. Time
Hmm.
for me, being that I belong to a lot of different organizations, as you know, I work off a strict calendar. I have my calendar color coded, and I need others to know my time is valuable. However, I will attend, support, do whatever I can to be a part and support others, especially women leaders and veterans. But I have to make sure that it's within my schedule and that I am saying a full body yes or a full body no, because you can really get overwhelmed if you don't set those kind of boundaries. So those are some of the ones that stood out to me with your presentation. So
No, thank you for that. Good, really good feedback. Really good feedback. And so uh, we want to um, we want to think about the six types of boundaries and then how they resonate with you, and then what types of accountability steps or mechanisms you're going to put in place. Because we all want you to win, right? We want you to win. And as we close, I want to give you, Monique, I want to give you, and people call you all different types of things, right? You got like a bunch of names, really.
well, Monique Jackson, I go by Mo. My childhood name from growing up is Nikki, and that's probably how you find me on Facebook, Nikki Mo. But Yes, I go by a lot of different names. My sorority name is Real Talk in one organization, Miss Transformation in another organization. So, as long as it's good and positive, I pretty much answer to anything.
Good deal. Good deal. And so, with that, from your organization, do you have any events coming up? Is there anything you want to share with our audience today? Because they're all ears, right? They're all ears. So, I'm going to give you that opportunity, then I'll close after that.
I appreciate that. My next event will be in January of 2022. I don't have a physical date or time yet. However, they can follow me on Facebook at Real Talk Time, and that's time with a Y. And if you type in at Real Talk Time all together, my Facebook page will pull up, or they can email me at Real Talk Time with the Y, the number 9 at gmail.com. And hopefully I am working on my website, and my Facebook page is up and running, and I hope to solidify our date and time for January by December 1st.
Okay, so I put it up there. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am, that is correct.
All right. Well, there you go. So thank you so much. Thank you so much with that, and appreciate you providing feedback. I want to start incorporating um, more people into the Better You Leadership, the podcast, the platform itself. And so I appreciate your time today and your feedback, and also looking forward to what's that? Heal, deal, and feel. I said it
Yes.
wrong though, didn't I? I said it wrong. Say it the right way,
It
please.
doesn't matter which way you say
Okay.
heal, deal, feel, deal, heal. We trying to do it all. So, and I
Okay. Well,
thank you for this opportunity. And as you know, I'm always rooting for you.
oh, well, thank you so much. All right. Well, we're going to let you go, and I'm going to close this out. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, with that said, I want you to please go to wherever you watch podcasts, listen to podcasts rather. If it's Spotify, if it's iTunes, if it's wherever it is, go and make sure that you are listening, subscribing, sharing, commenting. Now, again, if you have some positive stuff to say, then oh my goodness, make sure that you put some big positive comments on there. And the ratings, 5 ratings, that's what we want. We want 5, and we want them all over the place because we want more women to succeed. So that's what we're doing. We're talking about the nuances of personal development for women leaders, right? So that they might earn more respect and revenue. And this is a place for it, the Better You Leadership Podcast. So thank you so much. You all have an amazing day. My name is Angela Odom. And as always, I am rooting for you. Take care.